Oh my God, you guys, we are back. We are back for another episode. And this is part of our mother-daughter series that we're doing. And we're going to finish out this month, next month, with our cover feature. So I can't wait to introduce you to today's guest. Now, in this special Mother's Day episode of Dear Black Woman, we are actually sitting down with a remarkable mother-daughter duo, Kenda Bell, and I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, and I'm going to apologize in advance, but Nyasha Williams. Together, they co-authored Saturday Magic, a Hoodoo Story, a children's book that uplifts African-American spirituality, traditions, while also gently reminding Black women of their inner magic. More than just a book, it's a bridge between generations. Now, this conversation is going to touch on their personal journeys, their creative bond, and the spiritual practices that have shaped their paths. Now, tune in for a celebration of lineage, legacy, and the sacred act of remembering. So welcome to the show, Kenda and Nyasha. And I said it wrong. Didn't I say it wrong? Did I say it wrong? I know. Say it right for me, please.
Nyasha.
See? Okay, there we go. Hello, ladies. How are you all today?
Excited.
Happy to be in the space.
Awesome. So let's get into it. Kenda and Nyasha, what was the moment that sparked the idea for Magic, a Hoodoo Story?
So I'll say that I was definitely feeling creating some books, for picture books and children's books that were centering our spiritual practices. So we were starting to look at like the Orisha. We were starting to look at, different practices that have come forth for us, and how do we start giving our kids books that are affirming those practices, the practices that we're doing. So that's kind of where Saturday Magic was born. I turned to my mother-in-law and I was like, I think we need to write a book like this that is showcasing our spiritual practices as normalized and everyday movement, right? Everyday ritual. And I know Kenda was a little nervous because they've never done picture books before, a children's book, but I think it was really fun to play around and collab on that manuscript together.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Go ahead, Kenda. What were you going to say?
Oh, no. So I have been studying African spirituality, Hoodoo, even though I was raised Christian. And to be honest, I was not totally in the closet per se. I mean, look at me, right? But I wasn't really as vocal as I was living. So when she asked me about it, I was like, and then I said, okay. And then I thought about children, and I was like, wow, it would be good for children to start learning about all of that. Let me slow down. I'm getting excited. And then I thought about children really learning about their magic earlier, especially brown children. Like I didn't have those things. So, and our children should have them like others. So I was like, okay, let's do this.
I think what you guys are doing I think this book is really important, so to speak, right now, because with the conversations that are being held in society and that are being held in the world right now, and we talk about colonization and some of the things that were taken from us, our spirituality and our beliefs and our heritage was taken from us. The things that we're taught now as religion, those things were actually put in place to sort of brainwash our minds into being conditioned for slavery. So I think the picture book is super amazing, a tool that should be utilized within our community to not only introduce it to children, but to reintroduce it to adults as well.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Simply because, and I'll just say, my mother is from Georgia. And so Hindu, Christianity have always walked side by side quietly, and a lot of times we didn't talk about it, but we did the acts. And I think that it's now time for us to bring all of those things back online. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, the comparison in the two, if you really think about it, it was almost like they took some of the beliefs and some of the things that were represented in African spirituality and incorporated it into Christianity, while also telling Africans that their spiritual practices and the things that they believed were wrong.
Right.
So
Or demonic. Exactly.
yeah.
You see it across the board with like all BIPOC spiritual practices that they took and manipulated what, like, our ancestral connection and our spiritual practices are very powerful, and they took that and manipulated it to upholding these systems, right?
Yep.
Systems of oppression, the systems of colonization, all these things. And so they just whitewashed it and manipulated it in their own way, while telling us that it is evil and demonic for us to work with our ancestors and practice these practices. So 100%, it's like, and I'm so glad people are waking up to that. I'm glad people are stepping back and like just starting to shed that dogma that was so deeply entrenched into us. But there's so much magic that's happening as people are starting to connect with their ancestors, as these bonds are being created. And, we call it hidden in plain sight, right? Because it didn't disappear. It's hidden in plain sight, right?
Yes.
The other aspect, which I think was, I don't know if you've seen Sinners, but beautifully shown in Sinners in that scene when he plays, like, and all the ancestors through the different timelines. That's exactly what we're talking about. Like, it's always been there. Our magic is always sparking up. It's always there. It's just like tapping into that memory, tapping into that coding, tapping into that that lineage, right? But then also it's this aspect of, now that we're connecting with our ancestors, we can reclaim everything, because they want us to remember. They want us to know. They want us to be in connection, regenerating, and locked in with our roots. And so we can work in collaboration with them, so nothing has to be lost anymore. We can reclaim it all.
I love that. They say you carry trauma for up to 6 generations. So I feel like with this book, what you're saying is we carry that magic as well. So with each generation and each generation, we're passing down that magic to each other.
It's like we say we can pass trauma and pain and all this hardship on. That means we can pass on abundance. That means we can pass on healing. That means we can pass on love, prosperity, openness, We can pass on curiosity. We can pass on just regenerative, all these things. We do not have to live the way we are living now. It is time to walk into our magic, into our inner knowing, right?
Absolutely.
Right. And no other culture or people are asked to set it down, which I don't think that we really grasp that there's no other people that are told that they have to choose between. Just think about that for a minute.
And if you really think about it, you think about all of the religions, all of the cultures that are kin to the African spirituality, that are, dare I say, subsidies of the African spirituality, all of the things that fall up under it, copycat, so to speak, but just reworded and re-put in different ways and different forms. And you look at that, even down to, again, some of the acts within Christianity. These are some of the same practices. And you just, again, you look at it and you see how it's been taken and, like you said, just transformed into something that was used to sort of oppress people, not just us as African people, but women, just, period. It was taken from Black women as a way of saying you can't be as powerful and as magical as you are, as you actually are, and you need to be put in your place. Yeah.
Christianity is the only one that does not have a woman as a consort. And I think that is very sad because it blatantly devalues the process of life, period. Even a plant has male and female.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's not to say that I was raised Christian and I do see value in it, but I have issues sometimes with the way that it has been taught.
Yeah.
It's still power in the word, but it's the intention and the way that it's used.
Well, and we talk about how hoodoo's still very intertwined. A lot of people will call themselves churchy hoodoos, because it's still intertwined for them. But it's about that decolonization, indigenizing, and liberating yourself in your practice of Christianity. Because we know that it was taught a lot of times a very specific way to mold us in a very specific way towards the intention of the systems. So you have to do that work that we're all doing, so that you are able to move in Christianity in a way that is aligned towards our betterment, towards the betterment of ourselves, our world, our community, our collective.
Yes.
Yes. Now, Nyasha, you've called storytelling a sacred act. How does this project sort of reflect that belief for you?
Yeah, I mean, I say that when I'm writing, I'm never writing alone. Like, I feel like any ancestors who are aligned to the project that I'm currently working on, ancestors who maybe didn't get a chance to write because that time period they didn't have that opportunity, ancestors who are like, we just believe in your soul mission and the way that you're connected with the ancestors who want to work with me. I feel like, they say it's called being like ridden, right? With spirits come over you. And I just don't ever feel like when I am creating and writing, it goes back to the griot information, or griot, however you pronounce it, griot, that was also brought up in Sinners. It's music, but it's not only music. Like, griots were the carriers of legends and stories and the histories of the community, right? They carried forth our generations, our legacy, everything. And I definitely feel like I tap into that energy as a writer, as a creative, when I'm working with all my ancestors in the building of what I feel like I'm being told needs to be built down here.
I love that answer. Now, this is for both of you guys. What is this collaboration sort of taught you about each other, both as family and as creatives?
I want to go first. So she and I realized how similar she and I are, but we're in different fonts, right? And I have learned the brilliance of being an elder and listening to someone that's younger than me. And just realizing my magic again. She really helped me from being a single mother, working and still having a dream, but feeling that I have to work and I have to take care of my son and all the trials and tribulations of layoffs, bills, bad credit, good credit, bad credit again, and all of those things of losing, or so me thinking, losing my gifts when they were just really stumped down. And she has really opened me up to being me again, even better. And I appreciate learning who I've always been through gaining this loving partnership with my daughter-in-law. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, in speaking to that, I will just say that I think that's a huge part of our jobs down here is a lot of times we forget our magic when we're on this journey. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of distractions. And our job is to remind each other of who we are and remember the constant flow of abundance, that we don't need to compete, that there's enough for everyone. We don't have to live this way. We can live and everyone can be safe, okay, and secure. And on that note, I will say I'm a transracial adoptee. So my parents are white, all my siblings and I are Black. And, I did grow up in the church, but for my parents, it was not a specific denomination. We jumped denominations. So I was baptized in the Lutheran church, and I was confirmed in the Anglican church. My parents' church that they're in now is a Mennonite church. So they just go all over the board. And it's about the outreach that the church is doing in the community and in the world for them. But I think spiritually, I struggled with the church because the church is a lot of like, recite this, do this, but not, I felt like I didn't have the understanding behind it. So I felt like I was speaking things, saying things, doing things. And now, I am in a very different place. Like 2020 was like, we always say, I believe we go through multiple awakenings throughout our life, but 2020 was one of my biggest awakenings. And I really just like really woke up, and it was like, whoa. And the connection with the ancestors was just so strong and very like present. And I got a lot of like signs and very bold messaging from them on like what to do, what's next, how to move. And I just stepped right into it. And my loving husband was very supportive and always is on that journey with me as I was shifting and changing so much in that time. Mm-hmm. And we took those steps together. And it was definitely a leap of faith. I think it very much the fool's card if we're talking tarot. But I stepped in, and we're here now. And in relation to my mother-in-law, she was critical when I was having that awakening. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was happening. Yes, I had very much had the dark night of the soul in that moment. And my mother-in-law was like, I got you. And she was like, take this spiritual bath, do it at midnight. And she's like, it will help a reset. And it was phenomenally important. And I had so much clarity once that bath was done. And I recommend that bath to so many people because I feel like it is necessary to have those white spiritual baths in our lives. But she really was my beginning mentor on this journey, really walking into my ancestral connection, really walking into my work as a hoodooist, and really moving very boldly in ancestral veneration. So very grateful for that opening with her, and for her to have that, give me that grounding that I needed during that
time. That's beautiful. Okay. So my next question is, now you all were in different states during this process. How do you sort of navigate that long distance co-creation?
Yeah. I mean, we're thankful for, while we don't love, a lot of our social media and our resources are controlled by they're kind of in a monopoly right now and controlled by just very few white men. We can say that we're grateful for Google Docs because it allows us to write instant time together. So we are grateful for that. And we were grateful to be able to, we'd be on video call and we would go back and forth and kind of structure out the book together. Every single collaboration I've done is different, there's times when I've done collaborations where we've divided up the work. So with my sister, when we created our Oracle deck, we wrote spirit together. And then she was like, I'm going to do fire and earth. And I'm like, cool, I'll do air and water. And so that's a different kind of collaboration. Whereas like this one with Kenda was like every sentence we were shaping together. We were structuring together. We were building it together. So every single one of my collaborations has looked very different. The biggest one that I did was my South African affirmation book, which was a lot of people. There was 12 of us on that project. That was a lot. And that was a lot to just organize. But I believe in collaboration. I think it's necessary. It's the only way we're going to go forward is community and collaboration. Mm-hmm. And I love collaboration for so many reasons. But the biggest and most important part for me is just I only have certain levels of sight, right? Like my sight only goes so far. I have certain lenses. I'm only seeing so much. So it's really beautiful to work with other people on projects because that sight gets extended. You get to see more. You get new gazes, new sight, new vision, and new lenses. And I think that just makes every project richer. And I'm here for it.
I love that. Now, Nyasha, you founded Fire and Honey Press, and that was a huge move. How does that mission actually show up in this particular book?
Yeah. So Fire and Honey Press is still being built. It's a definitely labor of love. It's a big project that I am navigating and working through, but I am like deep in the trenches with the ancestors on this one. How does it show up in Saturday Magic? I would say number one, through the collaborational part. Like Fire and Honey is so centered in collaboration. It's rooted in collaboration. You know, it's also about writing towards the world we believe in. Fire and Honey Press is about building for creatives, for our world, the world that we believe in, the world that we know to be true, the world that we know we deserve. Like I always say that I'm creating and writing towards the world that my ancestors deserved and future children need, right? And so I think that is very much at the heart and the root of all of that. And Fire and Honey is about truly challenging what currently exists and challenging it in a way that is portaling us towards better ways of being. And so to me, Saturday Magic is beautifully that. Now, the difference with Fire and Honey is Fire and Honey is going to be completely digital. And so Fire and Honey, all the projects, any project that goes through it will be in 3 formats. So you'll have like a digital book, which I'm pushing graphic novel style. You're going to have your animated form. So like, can you imagine Saturday Magic as an animated show? And then you've got your audio, which is, again, a callback to griots or griot, a callback to our oral narratives and the importance and the power in our voice in that storytelling around the fire, in that carrying forth of how powerful and how that is so deeply rooted in our DNA and the legacy of our oral storytelling as a community.
I love that. I love it. Now, Kenda, let's move on to you. Your Joy Factor brand sort of centers around self-discovery. How does that energy breathe in this through this book as well?
Well, it's all about understanding that you are born with everything that you need. And you need the right garden or people around you to cultivate that and to show you that so that you can bloom. And I tell all of my clients that you are your own best expert. You know everything. I'm just here to kind of help you, to kind of guide you to your own truth. And that is what happens on this magical Saturday. The parents, the ancestors, the friends are all helping our young, beautiful brown girl know that she knows and she's magical.
Little
And
dig.
the ancestors are always with you. And that's what I share through like astrology and the mindfulness. You know, it's an eclectic type of a space where, you know, I pull from a lot of things that we all enjoy. You know, I may use like astrology, some Ifa, some scriptures, simply because all of those things are coded in our DNA anyway. Our ancestors have already used certain herbs, certain types of practices, certain scriptures, certain things. So let's reactivate that in this time for magic and power and healing.
I love that. Now, launching your business at 50 and newly married, what truths or lessons have come with this season for you?
That I am not a single woman anymore. I was, this sounds ridiculous and crazy, right? I'm gonna tell you, I keep it real. I keep it real, Tammy. So just know. The idea that I don't have to figure it all out. I don't have to have all the answers, and not feeling shame when I don't. I have a partner that supports me. He's not looking for me to solve everything, but I can offer. So I'm living the softest life, but I'm not living a quote unquote soft life, but I am learning that flow is good too. That I don't have to hustle hard, not even hustle at all, but work smartly.
Yes.
Allowing also to know that I don't have to be a traditional wife, like the different things that I had learned that had scared me from being married, identity loss, supporting him, which I do, but I don't have to lose self in order to do that. And my husband is a mindful and conscientious, wonderful husband. And so when you're dating for 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 a marriage, you really want to make sure that you can be with someone that you can grow with, not like you're growing into them, but you guys are focused on being more better. More, I said it right, to being better of who you already are. And so I've learned just to chill, and to be okay being me, and all of my quirkiness is perfectly fine.
Okay. Now, Nyasha, what actually, I'm going to switch back to you for business real quick. What actually led to you sort of rejecting the traditional publishing and building your own lane?
Yeah, I mean, I will never not be connected to that space because I have babies in that space, and I still do respect beautiful community members that I've worked with in that space. I've worked with beautiful editors. I give respect to my agents who helped me on this journey. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know what a manuscript was. And I just jumped in, and I was grateful that the ancestors, had a pillow for me to land on navigating that space, right? But in all of that, I, just like any of our big, anytime anything becomes a big conglomerate. So as soon as we start looking at Hollywood, we've got big studios. Anytime we're looking at publishing, we're looking at big houses, music, you've got these big industry, big studios. Anything gets so big, it's like you have to remember how we've gotten to this point. Like, think about the historics. And when you sit with that, you're like, okay, well, it's still very white controlled. Like, there's so much research that will tell you that a lot of those big conglomerates, that these big studios, big publishing houses, all these big spaces are still very white controlled. And so you have to pay attention to that. I also feel like I can speak to the fact that when you are pitching a manuscript, when you are pitching a song, when you are pitching a film, it's still being looked over. It's the decision of it being suitable or being good enough to be published or be put on a big screen or be presented on an album is being chosen a lot of times by mostly white people in a room. And so when we sit with all that, you have to just sit in that recognition and that understanding. It's like, I think of all the stories that are being passed because they're not being seen. I think of all the stories that are being missed because they aren't being seen as valued by whiteness, right? And I think, to me, this is so evident. Like, I know when I first really, even in 2020, a lot of my illustrators, I would send them visual examples of what I was trying to create. So I'd be like, I'd make an illustrator document for my books, and I'd be like, this is what I'm looking for. Like, these are the visuals that I'm looking for. I do it for each page. It was so hard to find visuals of Black people doing the things. And it could be so basic, but it was so hard to find Black people doing them. And it's like, this is 2020. This should not be this hard. This is insane. So it just reminds you of like these huge gaps. Always these gaps. Now it's shifting. I think AI, people are using that to fill these gaps too. There's complications with AI, but I understand why our community would utilize it in these gaps too. So it's a hard space for me. But what I will say is that the other thing that I've also noticed, because I'm working on another oracle, and I'm looking for vintage photos too. And you just see all these gaps in vintage photos too. Like when I'm looking for vintage photos of a specific thing for Black people, it's
you
like,
won't find them. Yeah.
It's because no one decided to take a photo of us doing that. But of course there's photos.
It's funny that you say that, because that goes back to the pre-conversation that went on before the show when Kenda was asking you, had you seen the Met Gala? And she was saying the importance of why, with all of the, the negative that goes with it, the importance of why, it was put on display. Because just like you said about those vintage photos, it is very hard for you to find anything about us in past lives, in anything that represents anything that we did that was successful, that we did that was good. Because you have to remember one thing: when they freed us from slavery, if we succeeded, they either burnt our cities down or they flooded them. So a lot of our history was washed away or burned away.
Right. No, it makes me think of the watermelon, like when I think about how, after emancipation, watermelon was a great thing for our people to turn. And that's why they use it as caricatures and demonized us through the watermelon, was because we were having success with selling watermelon. And which is why I always say we need, every time you eat a watermelon, reclaim it in abundance for us, for yourself, for us, collective.
Because our ancestors were those sharecroppers. What was taken for negative, what was actually positive for us, they utilized as negative, the same way they did with our spirituality, which goes back to your book, the purpose and the meaning of your book, and why it's needed.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I just want to jump in really quick to say that is why ancestor honoring is essential to us. It is essential to us. The money that we pass as currency is ancestor veneration. The buildings, the Metropolitan, that is ancestor veneration to someone else. All the museums, the Guggenheim, the Nobel Peace Prize, all these different things that we are giving this energy and honor our frequency to, a value, is ancestor veneration. And we as melanated people in this country have a bad habit of not feeling comfortable, not saying that we don't do it, but not being comfortable in honoring our ancestors in the open, not, meaning not the quote unquote famous ones, not the acceptable ones. And that's something that I was guilty of as well. And I'm glad that I am growing and understanding that, because that helped me through cancer, all of those things, honoring those things.
No, and we have to speak to ancestral veneration, because you're doing it whether you're conscious of it or not.
Yep.
Like when you wear Nike, however you want to pronounce it, you're venerating that. You're venerating every single thing that you choose to
God.
purchase put on your body. It's like you have to think about it that way.
Yeah.
I was like, and I know some people feel uncomfortable with altars if they're not in the church, because again, this was trained in us to not be okay with that.
So you see how it's okay to have an altar in the Christian space, but it's not okay to have an altar in any other space, because if you have an altar in any other space, it's demonic.
Exactly.
But the red carpet is oh, I'm sorry. Did I? The red carpet, the blue carpet, where everyone was walking up and being looked at and honored for who made what and when and what like inspired it. Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, you're right. They're all
You're right.
Even the stadiums where the sports is playing, these are all altars. So you have to honor that energy is going somewhere. So pay attention to what you're giving your energy to, right?
Yeah.
And so this is why I'm like, whether you're conscious of it or not, when you make a recipe, from your past generations, that is a venerating. You're venerating the ancestor who wrote that recipe, right? And it's coming down your family line. When you have any items that are heirlooms that keep passing down, that's venerating. You're venerating. Anybody who has passed away and you have their photo on the wall, that is venerating. So people do it consciously or non. And it's like, this is where I'm like trying to wake people up. So you got to do this consciously, because you're giving your energy, whether you're conscious of it or not. And this is why my mother-in-law, I had the idea for a while of creating ancestor money, because I was really tired, first of all, of Harriet Tubman not being on our $20 bill.
Mm-hmm.
And that's driving me crazy. And I feel like I want people, I know this can go a little bit this conspiracy realm, but sit in your brain for a minute and think about why it's taking them so long to do this. And it's like, you have to sit in the recognition of the power that we put on money. And you can't wash Harriet's legacy. She was who she was. And so there's all of these layers that go into all of that. But the point is, we decided to create ancestor money. We have 11 bills that exist. And we called in ancestors who we felt like needed to be on these first 11 bills. And when we work with them, we saw them, what the bill was calling in healing wise for the community, for ourselves, for the community, for the collective. And really beautifully, when I'm out here in Colorado, I had a friend who was like, do you do readings with these? And I had never thought about that. And so I offer ancestor money readings through the money. I can read people. It's really beautiful because it allows me to read for the person things they need to focus on based off of what the ancestor was going through, things that need to be healed for themselves, the community, and the collective. And so you're getting that huge, impactful, generational, collective healing through those readings. And so I love doing it. And it's just been a beautiful project to come forth. And just, my mother-in-law stepped in. I started creating the money. She stepped in to support me. We had a couple back and forth on some of the ancestors to be included. But we figured it out. We found our common ground. And this is what I'm saying when, if you want to know how I made this money on my Substack, I have a 4-part breakdown of everything that went into creating this money. But when I thought about how intentional I was with it, I was like, oh my goodness, when you think about it that way, you think about what they're doing with our money that we're running around carrying, the intention and the level that goes to uphold the systems, that upholds the magic that's being used in to uphold what's already going on in our systems and that we're trying to dismantle. So it's it just was a very deep awakening project for me, very important, very magical, very powerful, and very awakening in all the intention I was able to put in. Because ancestors are human, right? So I had some to filter out things that we don't want to carry forth from them, but there are things that are helpful to us now that we do want to carry forth. So I had filters built. I had all these things created for this beautiful intention of this money. And I'm just like, if I'm being this conscious in it, my goodness, who knows what's going on with those dollar bills that we running around with.
So let me ask you a question. Now, with you saying all of that, and we us talking about ancestor veneration, hoodoo is often misunderstood and very much misrepresented. Mm-hmm. What truths were you guys careful to uphold in this project?
Well, for me, I'll jump in and answer that first. Well, for me, I wanted to make sure that people understood that it is a part of our lives.
Mhm.
It The idea of getting up on Saturday and playing that gospel music or the movie to conjure up the spirit to clean, the opening up of the windows, adding coin. These are things that for generations, many families have just done and they continually do them from way back. So one of the things I wanted to for people to understand that it's not like a spooky thing or abnormal. It's something that we have been doing for years that have helped to keep us as sane and as regulated as possible underneath unimaginable stress. And we need to honor those things that sustained us long enough to be born, to have the opportunity to understand that, yes, hog mogs and chitlins is disgusting and nasty, and we don't eat them now, but they figured out a way to clean them and to bless them for us to live. That we come from eating vegetables and fruits, that us frying our food and cooking it well done was because we usually got the worst of the worst of the worst.
Mhm.
You understand what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
so I wanted all of those things to be very evident, and the idea of friends and family all incorporated in this. We already have those things even right now, whether we want to honor it or not, but it's not something new or something that we have to get back to. We have to activate it in this time.
Okay. Well, Nyasha, what lasting impact do you hope that Saturday Magic has for children and the women that's raising them?
I hope the Saturday Magic is an emboldening, like that people are emboldened to move transparently, honestly, truthfully. Um, and I think that Saturday Magic is a reminder of community, of our community, that we're part of this continuum, we're part of this legacy, that this continual space that is always growing, always expanding. Um, I think it's a reminder to take care of ourselves in spiritual hygiene, right? In our daily practice, in the ways that we're consuming. We've got Grandma Rose's beautiful watermelon and orange salad in that book with the recipe. So, we're calling in that. And, even when I think the whole point is when we created the book, we moved in very deep consciousness of what we were putting in the ways that we wanted people to sit in reflection of how they're moving in their daily practices. So I think that's what it is a call to, is people sitting in consciousness of how you're moving in daily practice and what that means and what you're calling in when you're doing it. So even the recipe for Grandma Rose's salad, it's like every single one of those ingredients has a specific intention, right?
Yeah.
So when we're moving, it's a reminder to move consciously and to move in ways that are building towards what you are trying to create, what you're trying to call in, right? What you're trying to portal towards. And so, yeah, very much conscious living, honoring all those that came before us, similar to Kenda said. And Hoodoo for me is so about like ground roots. It's like, it's the earth. It's the reconnection to the land. Like that is how we got through. That's how we're here right now, is like our connection to the spirits, like understanding that everything is live and sentient and moving in that acknowledgement, right?
I love that. Now, ladies, how do you view yourselves within the tradition of Black storytelling?
For me, I am an author. I came out way back in the day, 2007, with an Essence bestseller. My first
Wait a
time.
minute. She said way back in the day, and I thought she was getting ready. Like I'm one of them halfway Gen X millennials. So I thought when you said way back in the day, we was going to like 1990 something. You said 2000. I'm like, wait a minute now. Wait a minute.
2007 seems like a lifetime almost.
Like
now.
you said two. I'm like, wait a minute now. That is you aging me and you.
It's all right. It's all right. We aging well.
Yes.
But, so I want to continue to write fiction that speaks to authentic living. And as a actual live stage storyteller, which I shared my story last year about being a stutterer and having the audacity to not care, and just really letting people be comfortable in being who they are. So that's it. And I'm also about to come back in my podcasting. I am studying modern journalism now within NYU. So it's really helping me to see the way that things have changed and just and making sure that I can share a true voice for the women of color and for Gen X to stop being so stiff. We don't have to be like our parents. We don't have to.
And I will speak to truly just when I think of myself, I do label myself as a griot. I have that on a lot of my socials. I feel like I tap in that way. Ancestrally, I feel like I very much am carrying that. I feel like one of the scribes here doing that work for our ancestors and for the world that we're trying to move towards a just, regenerative, loving, safe world. And I, definitely speak to my words helping us, anything I create is helping us move towards alignment, ancestral connection, ancestral veneration, and again, that world that we know we are all deserving of. And so that's really where everything centers for me. I'm very, very strong in my communities and in my work and everything in accountability. I'm really, really strong in truth telling, in, understanding the responsibility that I'm carrying with me right now. But I do not take it lightly. But I think that this journey has been so amazing as a storyteller because I feel like I get connected to so many amazing community members, yourself included, through this storytelling that just really reaffirms the importance of what we're doing and reaffirms like the ancestral calling. They're calling us back home to ourselves, to our roots, to our community, to our
love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They are definitely calling us. Sinners to me, and I'm not going to trail off and spin off because I could talk about that for hours. I think that movie has really opened up people to really want to know about what their parents and their grandparents don't talk about.
Yeah.
so that we can actually heal. For me, when I was watching Sinners, when I saw the year of 1932, I'm like, that was like 11 years before my mother was born. And she was born into such a heavy and challenging energy where I gained a whole new level of empathy. And we got to recognize that. We've really, and she was born into trauma that was coming from 60 years previous, fresh from more. And when we judge the church and so have you, we have to understand that they were doing the best that they knew to be safe. And
Yeah.
that was their only way of trying to have some control over their bodies because they had not experienced having control and ownership over their body.
Yeah.
Now, we can always judge the manner, but we have to start having empathy. The ancestors are constantly saying, do what I would have done if I had known.
Yeah. My grandmother, I'm blessed to have both of my grandmothers still in my life. My grandmothers, both, one was born in 1928, the other one was born in 1929. One is 96, the other one is 97. So just even as we face the things that we're facing currently in 2025, one of the things that I had to think about was we've been through so much before, and we have to really truly lean on those that came before us and remember that. Just the conversation we had about how there are so many African traditions tied into Christianity, the reason that is because as our ancestors were brought over here, they utilized Christianity under the guise, but they still held and hid their traditions within those practices. So even though they were reading the Bible, they were still doing the same African spiritual things that were passed down to them from over in Africa, which is why we still anoint with oil, which is why we still have altars, which is why we still have so many of those practices wrapped into Christianity. And a lot of people don't understand why. They just think it's just a part of the bigger picture, not understanding that that was also a safety net for many of our ancestors as well. The churches where we spreaded our messages, the gospel songs are where we actually sung to each other to get the messages across to each other. So it was under the guise of Christianity, but it was still very much our spiritual practices.
Yes. And the other thing I was going to speak to is, this is where the intergenerational trust has to be locked in, right? Because we honor our elders, we honor what the knowledge and the things that they can pass forth. It's very important. They also need to trust us when we say there's different paths and new ways of being now, right? So it's this intertwining of their knowledge, their wisdom that they still carry, and they're honoring. We see new paths. We don't have to continue in this way. We don't have to be stuck in these systems. There are so many infinite possibilities that can be, and let's tap in together in our powers together.
Yes, absolutely.
And Hoodoo helped heal a lot of people when we didn't have doctors. The herbs that they did, we going to the doctors is great. You should go. But we also know the challenges that people of color have experienced historically at the hands of the medical system. So I'm not saying to not go to the doctors, but we have to remember what kept people safe and healed.
Yes.
Well,
that's
it's still a problem when you look at Black maternal care. These are still issues that we are
fighting. Yes, these are very much issues that are still in place. And if you're paying attention, we're also starting to pass down some of those remedies, some of those herbal medicines, some of those herbal traditions, some of those same practices that help heal. Some of us were actually taught some of those things.
Yes.
And it's important to, be, like you said, that oral storyteller, those oral recipe givers, those people who hold those things, put them in the books and put them out there for others to read. That's a part of why I created this platform as well, especially to make sure that Black women understood that there are other Black women out there very much like you who are resources for what you need and from what you want in your life. So yes, absolutely.
And on top of the fact that we're all going to play a different role in the shift, right? In the revolution, like we're all going to play a different role. And so you have to listen to that ancestral call of what you need to be doing down here. Yeah. But it's like, this is why people are stepping into being doulas, being midwives. Like, and that's why that's happening. That's why people are stepping into these shifts and stepping in, teaching our babies how to swim. I have mad respect for people who are teaching the Black community how to swim, because we need that. We need that security. We need that safety, and we are deserving to walk back into the first element, into our first home.
Yes.
Walk in our power in that element.
Now, ladies, what advice would you offer to other mother-daughter pairs who are actually seeking to build or create something together?
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. You want the elder go first?
Either one or both.
Okay. No. I will say for both the young and the older or the elder, don't be so arrogant to think that you know it all. Do not be arrogant to think that you know it all. Understand there's value in what each shares, and to honor authenticity. Create safe circles where they can tell you, I'm tired. You hurt my feelings. And listen to it and express it. Be more open. Be vulnerable with each other. I think that's important in these days and times to come.
So my advice is, number one, anytime you're creating, you get an idea, you get a project, I always say, like, sit on it for a minute and see if that project is meant to be done with someone else or by yourself. Like, you need to navigate that. I often turn to my cards, my tarot deck, to see what is aligned. And it, I don't know, obviously, when you use divinational tools, you make your own keys as you're divining, but I always see if it's meant to be done with someone else, if it's meant to be done with me, and then also divining to see if the collaboration is correct. Is this person correct to do this project with me? So always sitting in those double checks first, and then know that it is going to be challenging. It is going to be hard. Communication is going to be key, and if we haven't been taught what healthy communication looks like, that just makes everything ramped up and that much harder, right? And so being open to understanding that we're always going to make mistakes, but it's our accountability and how we navigate the aftermath of that is what's going to make or break any collaboration or any kind of communication with anybody. So understanding that there's going to be miscommunications, understanding there's going to be disagreements, but it's like how you navigate that that's going to allow you to be successful in this project or not. Kenda and I met once a week. So we would have, our Friday meetings once a week, 1 hour. That was our lock-in. That was our time. That was our creative space to work together. And just we're not rushing it. We're just once a week meeting in, we're getting done what we get done in that hour. And then just, going bit by bit. But I do think that making sure that you are being willing to know that you're going to go through stuff. Like, a lot of times, especially when you're doing work that is at the heart and the core of, a lot of times the work that you do it often mirrors healing work that you need to do to yourself when you're doing When I created my tarot deck, I was like experiencing sometimes when I was writing for the cards, I was experiencing stuff. So it's like a lot of times when you're creating, you will mirror that in your real life, and you've got to work through that and navigate that. And so when that's happening, you know, being open to what's going on, being able to have safe spaces to be able to talk through what you're navigating, what you're emoting, all the things. But also understanding that this is growth for you, this is healing, just as you're healing in the story that you're telling, in the creation that you're creating, you are healing in yourself. So it's always this beautiful mirroring with the universe as we're navigating and doing these things. So just being open to that experience and know it's ugly. You're going to have really ugly tears and cries and navigating things when you work through these projects sometimes, but that's part of the journey, and that's part of us healing what we're trying to heal through our creative projects.
I love that. Now, this is a celebration of mothers and daughters, creativity, Black women. That is what we're doing this month. What wisdom do each of you want to leave with our listeners today? And Kenda, we'll start with you.
It's never too late. Do not be afraid to work with someone that is younger than you as a partner and not as a mentor. It's very important that we start learning to learn, just in general, and not feel that just because age gives me authority. Age gives me authority in maybe a certain area, but be willing to learn and evolve. Simply because this young lady is an old soul. I'm a middle-aged soul. I'm still like I'm playful, and that's okay. That's all right. Find the balance. Balance is the key to it all.
I do not think I'm an old soul. I feel like I'm a middle soul, especially with your son in my life. He is the oldest.
Well, I birthed the original old soul. Yes, I did. We didn't talk about my son. My son is
listen. From what it sounds like, kindred spirits found each other. Okay, so don't blame it on your man. Y'all just came together. Okay.
Okay, so I feel like, yes, I have a lot of wisdom, but I feel like I gain so much wisdom from others. So my two leaves for people are two books that to me spiritually have just like shifted so much and like were so eye-opening, and you know, they just ramped up so much for me. So obviously, if you have not read Jambalaya by Louise Tish, please step in, because that book is phenomenal. She obviously did a redo, so if you have read it, get her new version. We always want to support a Black woman, right? And give her bag and give her flowers. So buy the new copy if you haven't already. There's so many rituals. I just recently, in the back, they have the transformation rituals. I just did the fear ritual and the courage ritual. If you are hearing the call and need that, step in, tap in. The other book that blew my mind that I was recommended and given for my birthday is The Enneagram for Black Liberation. Return to who you are beneath the armor you carry. This is insane. It is so phenomenal. I'm a human design girl. So like, I like astrology. Enneagram was all right, but human design is my jam. Like, I'm obsessed with human design. But this book tapped me in to another level with the Enneagram. And so writing it, from it being written by a Black woman, her explaining it through our lens, explaining how, you know, our armor is necessary at times, because a lot of the white Enneagram lenses are saying, just take off your armor and just go out in the world. And it's like, well, actually, there are reasons as Black women or Black people or BIPOCs why we have to carry our armor. So she is a beautiful navigational way of seeing that and honoring our armor and honoring the ways that it saved us and protected us and carried us, but also recognizing when we need to put that armor down. And what it looks like to put that armor down for each type. So beautiful, beautiful book.
Okay, awesome, ladies. Now I'm going to drop off the screen for a moment and I want you to tell everyone how they can find your book, where they can find you on social media. And I'm going to let you guys battle over who's going to say what. But I know both of you all have two different businesses. So take turns letting everyone know where you are on social media, how they can get your book, how they can get in contact with you in business as well. Okay.
Sounds great.
Nyasha, you can go first.
Okay, so thanks for listening in. If you want to stay connected with me, my Instagram is Writing to Change the Narrative. I have a hot cold relationship with some of these social media sites, so I'm there, but sometimes I like step off for a minute. If you want to stay pretty in tune to what's going on, most current things for me, my Substack is the best place, and all my links are on my Instagram bio. So if you go on there, you're able to access my website, you're able to access my Substack, you're able to access all my links. Yeah, Fire and Honey Press is still growing. So that is my baby that I'm building. And it is not launched yet, but it is growing, it's building, it's becoming something. And so I am still working on that. But if you want updates, that's where you're going to be turning to my Substack, which is where all my things that I'm doing and creating and building are being updated in that realm, in that space. Okay. And if you're in Colorado, I'm in Colorado. So we can connect in person if you live in Colorado. If you live out here, we can definitely find ways to connect and be. I love a sound bath. So if you're down for a sound bath, love to join you. But yes, those are spaces that I'm in.
Okay. And once again, my name is Kenda Bell. I'm also known as Kenda Bell Scroll and the Joy Factor Mama. You can find me on all socials by Kenda Bell. I am building out the Sacred Joy Garden. So if you are a woman that wants to start exploring her powers through astrology, some beautiful avatars, and some AI support in an eclectic way. I do a little bit of everything. I'm for the non-conventional seeker of self. Join me. You can find all of my stuff on Instagram. Yes, I'm still on Facebook, but not as much. Instagram and TikTok. And my website, www.sacredopportunities.com, is a site that I have with my husband, and he and I also coach couples as well. And you'll find my other books there. And of course, Ancestor Money. So we'll talk about that on another day. And make sure you get a copy of Saturday Magic, a Hoodoo Story, and it is available anywhere that you buy books, and support the small Black bookstores if possible. Absolutely. They have access to order
and make
them.
sure you make that watermelon salad this summer, because we all.
Oh yes, the watermelon salad is everything. Oh, and my T-shirt, sacred tech wear. So I am the algorithm. I manifest at the speed of thought.
Oh, I love that. That is beautiful. Thank you so much, ladies, for allowing me to interview all. Thank you for allowing me to highlight you all in our magazine and in our space. This has been so phenomenal. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies. Stick around because I'd love to chat with you after the interview. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Tammy. We appreciate this. I really do. This was great. Thank you for having us. For sure.
Okay. Listen, you guys, this has been another phenomenal interview. Now, this is going to be in our Mother's Day Mother-Daughter series. Now, this episode of Dear Black Woman, I am so grateful for the presence and the purpose of Kenda Bell and Nyasha Williams. See, I got it right at the end. Their work reminds us that our stories are medicine. that collaboration is sacred and that our magic, both inherited and cultivated, is real. Follow their journey, support their work, and most of all, reflect on the magic within your own lineage. Until next time, you guys, take care of yourself and each other. Peace, power, and purpose to you all.